Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a closer look at the KanDao QooCam EGO. This is a pretty interesting 3D camera that not only allows you to capture images via its dual lens system on the front, but also has a magnetic viewer that you can attach and transforms it into something like a mini VR headset or kind of like a Google Cardboard situation, and you can see your images and videos in 3D directly. With the Apple Vision Pro looming on the horizon, it's possible that this tech will become more mainstream and popularized again. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how something like this fares as you're able to create that content and view it back on those 3D glasses and headsets. Kind of the size of a action camera, something like a GoPro, but it has, again, two lenses built on in. There's also built-in Wi-Fi, so you are able to connect it with a companion app, either for Android or iOS, to act as another viewfinder for looking back at your content as well, giving access to all of the accessories, including a quick user guide here on top, so very well presented. Viewer part is actually red in color, and there's also a film that is preventing fingerprints or dust on the lens. Then further down below here, we have access to a soft carrying pouch for protecting it when on the go. And located on the other side, there's access to a lanyard strap, which is also accented red. Finally, down below here, we have a Type-C charging cable. It takes about an hour and a half to fully recharge. You also get this interesting selfie mirror, which you can attach magnetically onto the top here, so you're able to see yourself when capturing images. Perhaps most importantly, there is the replaceable/removable battery, which by default it is 1340 milliamp hours. And you can pop open the hinge here on the side to insert that battery, plus the micro SD card slot along with the Type-C port for charging are all located under this primary door. Otherwise, bottom here has a standard threaded tripod mount, which is excellent, along with the lanyard strap. And then on the right-hand spine, you have access to up and down menu navigation keys and a playback key. And this is because even though this thing does have a touchscreen display, when you have the viewer attached onto that display, you can no longer touch it, of course, so you have to rely on those keys for navigating and viewing back the content in 3D. The top here just then houses a standard camera shutter key. It is a single press key though, as opposed to two-stage. Then there is just a power key and then the loudspeakers. Finally, on the front, we have those two camera lenses along with dual microphones as well, and just an LED light. The entire camera, by the way, is coated in a soft touch rubber material, which makes it feel very grippy and quite premium in the hands. Definitely has a very substantial weight to it for something which is pretty compact. Here it is as a reference with a pretty typical 6.5-inch phone, and you can tell that this thing, again, is similar to something like a GoPro or an action cam. Popping it onto life, you can tell that the screen is also kind of interesting because it's cut out almost like a trapezoid on the top and bottom right-hand corners where you can access some additional context menus. This IPS LCD screen also shows you your battery percentage on the top, whether you have a micro SD card inserted, and then as aforementioned, we can swipe here from the left to view back any content or media that you have saved. Plus, you can swipe up to access additional controls, properties like the white balance, as well as set up a timer, and also the exposure controls you can also change here from auto to sport. Swiping over from the right allows us to configure the focus distance, so you can get closer and further away from an object, go between 28 all the way up to over infinity or 500 centimeters away, depending on how close or far away from the 3D object that you want to capture. Otherwise, we can also swipe down from the top to access kind of a universal drawer to turn on and off options like Wi-Fi, the brightness of the screen, the built-in speaker, as well as going to more advanced settings. You can even set up the recording temperature from a standard to a more saturated one, but that is all the controls we have at the moment. There's also anti-flicker controls, grid lines that you can turn on and off if you want to shoot with a little bit more precision. If anything though, the format you can only keep as JPEG at the moment, so maybe in a future software update they can unlock capabilities like RAW for further editing post-prod. And then using magnets, it will be able to attach quite easily onto the surface along with some additional hooks. You can also see the UI there automatically switch when it has detected the viewer, which is pretty neat, similar to a smart folio case on a tablet, for example. For a modular accessory, it is surprisingly robust, doesn't really move around at all once you attach it, and still looks quite clean, I have to say. In the viewing mode, it is just showing what the camera is pointing at, which is our hands down below here, so it's angled downwards. But of course, when you are in the actual playback mode of images that you've captured, it will make a lot more sense. I'll also mention that instead of Pressing on the power key for 3 seconds, you can tap on it once to switch back and forth between video and also photo taking modes. And parts like the battery can be picked up separately if you want to add another unit for charging and then hot swapping when on the go. As for technical specifications, this is a f1.8 aperture lens, and the sensor size is ½ inch. Uses side-by-side 3D, so the video resolution is 1080p up to 60 fps per camera lens, so the two combines together to be 3.8K in the combined video file. The camera, by the way, also comes in 2 colors, either black or white. Kanjo also claims that their display on the camera is very high resolution, which is why it also works in the headset mode, since your eyeballs are pressed much closer to that screen. And it outputs at 1000 nits maximum brightness, so it should be quite bright as well, even if there is some light around you. And this camera, by the way, is also water resistant. Though it can't be fully submerged, you can use it if there's a bit of rain, and it should still survive. So popping it open, we can then tap on next to connect to the camera. Then the fastest way is on your smartphone, turn on hotspot, after which point the camera will then connect to the phone's Wi-Fi. By the way, this is the virtual keyboard that appears on the display. What we're now looking at is a preview of what the camera is seeing using the smartphone as a viewfinder. Similar to home security cameras though, because it is using a wireless connection, do expect a maybe 1 second delay between the footage and what you see. As well as down below here, we can snap to take an image there. You can hear the chime on the camera. So essentially mirroring all the functionality that we saw there from before, including the additional controls like the frames per second, as well as the focus range, we can all adjust just like we had on the camera itself. The settings icon at the top also allows you to check if there's any firmware updates, as well as adjust again the more advanced tricks, including an EIS for some stabilization when you're recording footage, although there is no physical gimbal built on in. And back onto the preview screen, we can tap on the gallery icon to take a closer look at the images that we've captured. Delete photos, as well as save them over or download them onto your phone's memory. Then when clicking on an image, you're able to further view it back not only as a 2D shot, which looks normal, but you can also turn it into side-by-side, left and right 3D. So if you have something like Google Cardboard or one of those VR helmets that you can slide your phone into, you can get a similar effect. There's also a parallel effect that you can play around with, even change the positioning of how they're tilted left and right. Furthermore, down below here, we can even change the convergence of those two images and how far we want them apart or together. Additional filters, including whale, jellyfish, and hearts, which are these holograms that you can add onto the image. And once you save this, you can then view it back again in that cardboard experience to give it more of an animated, fun feel. It's almost like Samsung's AR stickers, but interlaced with your own VR photos, which is interesting. Not a ton of effects that you can pick between, but still an interesting idea. And then down below here, you can change the images with different filters and effects, including dusk, afternoon, color grading the images and rechanging their vibe. Plus, you can also share this image pretty easily as well, exporting it to other social media platforms, including back to the camera's built-in memory so that you can view it back in 3D if you've added other effects onto it. The company also has a cloud server available, so you can back up some of your content, but obviously you can also opt for your own solutions, including Google Photos, to further preserve those memories yourself. Now further down below here, we can also access a quick clip menu, which gives you some special effects of types of footage you can capture, which is pretty neat, almost like a template, including hyperlapse. This gives you an example of what the camera is capable of. This one called drone zooming looks like you have a drone that is blowing higher, but in reality, you're just using a selfie stick and then moving backwards with the camera on the tripod. A tutorial tab at the bottom also allows you to just learn more info about using the EGO camera and their other offerings, access to multiple controls, capture images, replace batteries that we looked at earlier as well. So overall, it's a pretty simple but also fun companion app that gets the basics right. Now coming over to the camera and reviewing some additional footage, you can, by the way, also favorite some of the images that you've captured, and that will save it into another folder. When you're reviewing the shots later on, you'll be able to more easily sort through. Overall, the process of capturing images is quite fast, and what I was kind of surprised was even in slightly darker scenarios, it doesn't look too shabby either. Here's an example at around 9 to 10 p.m. at night with only a small lamp, and the flowers here can still be mostly seen, and the 3D effect is still visible once you pop in the viewer. So overall, it's decent enough. Of course, the more light that you have, it's going to look even sharper. And revisiting some of these shots, I have to say it's really not shabby for something that's so compact. Really, it's quite fun to film with a completely different perspective, since you are capturing something you have to think about depth in terms of a object being closer to the camera than something a little bit further away, and then ultimately when you're viewing it back in 3D, you get more of that sense of immersion. Also, in terms of the focus range, that makes a pretty big difference. If you have something close by, I found that you tend to want to be at least the recommended 20 to 30 centimeters away from an object. If it is too close, the effect can be a bit overwhelming. So not bad. You can tell that in slightly more challenging environments, if you are against the sun, for instance, it does tend to be a little bit dark, since there doesn't seem to be too much HDR processing happening on the camera itself, similar to other small cams and dashboard cams. But that's where post-processing, either using their editing app, or again, if you're uploading to Google Photos, you can process it from there, change settings like HDR to further play with the contrast. But as it is, at least you do get plenty of detail in the shots, and they have a pretty good field of view, so it doesn't feel too narrow or restrictive either in terms of what you're looking at, and things can still be relatively sharp. All in all, I have to say, not bad for something so compact. A few notes though would be, because the screen here is so bright and it's a very high PPI, in order to make it look good in the VR mode, once you pop the viewer on, it does draw more power noticeably than on a regular point-and-shoot camera, combined with the fact that it's having two camera sensors always turned on and being used, means that I was able to squeeze in, I would say, around 100 to 150 shots before I had to recharge the camera. Maybe typical point-and-shoots, we expect around 300 shots before you have to recharge, so you do have to bring something like a power bank or maybe a, again, secondary battery if you want to go on longer shooting sessions. I'm also going to just play back a quick clip, and as reference, I will also include some short video footage as shorts, so stay tuned for those if you want to get a better sense of how the video quality looks like. But all in all, not bad in terms of the stabilization for something that's using EIS. Again, even indoor shots mostly look alright as long as you have the aforementioned 20 centimeter distance away from the subject at the minimum. As far as the actual experience of using the viewer, again, it's just snap and go, and it's surprisingly immersive. Sometimes it takes a split second for your brain to process what you're looking at, but afterwards the image does physically jump out at you, and seems like something you can even reach with branches that are sticking outwards and then things that are moving a little bit further away in the distance. I would say the resolution here is good enough to get you by for what it is. It's not going to beat, say, some pro-grade 8K, 12K cameras in the market, but for something casual just to play around with, it is plenty sharp, giving you sufficient detail to look back. A final note would be it does get a little bit warm as well because of, again, the two lenses that are being powered on such a small frame, mostly towards the top right-hand corner. Never gets too hot or uncomfortable per se, but I just wanted to quickly point that out. I'll also mention that, again, the unique display, which has a bit of a cutout or a lip at the left and right corners, actually isn't too distracting when you are in the viewer mode either. At first I thought it would look a little strange because the screen isn't perfectly square, but luckily that doesn't seem to be the case. It creates the illusion of a much larger screen, almost something like 200 if not 300 inches from a couple meters away from you, and that small edge becomes almost hard to perceive. I also was impressed by, again, the screen sharpness, so in that viewer mode with your eyeballs very close to the screen, you still can't really tell too many pixels apart. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the KanDo QooCam EGO. Again, these more specialty cameras I just love taking closer looks at. Just adds a little bit more personality and uniqueness to your shooting experience, and could be a pretty cool tool to use if you're into unique content creation, especially with VR products. You can check out more details if interested in the links down below. But for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the KanDo QooCam EGO.